Right, now the first thing you want to do is when you're in this position and you've got your stock set in your jaw is we're going to take a cut across the front of the face of the material. We're going to smooth off that edge so we've got a nice clean datum for the rest of our work. Right, now that we've got a nice clean surface, nice flat surface on the front of our material, what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on with my tool just on the side of the material. So I'll get it in a roundabout position. Now what I can do is I can either place a little slip piece of paper in there, or if I just touch the tool against the side I should see a little score line. I can use that as a little indication that I'm nearly ready to cut. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the lathe up again. I'm going to pass a single pass along the length of the material just to clean this face up. Now this is 35mm bar, but there's lots of little indentations around the side, so what I'm going to do is use this first pass to smooth that out, and then we'll take a measurement and get our clear size. So, you need to be careful in situations like this where we've taken a nice clean pass off the material, we've got a nice smooth finish, but we've got a great deal of swarf starting to build up, and we don't want this swarf to catch in the jaws of the chuck and get flung out. Again, the guard does protect against it, but still better not to have it happen at all. So I'm going to remove all that extra swarf. Again, be careful, make sure you don't get your hands cut on any of it. And you see we've now got our nice flat surface. So if I take a measurement of that with my vernier gauge, we can see that the current size is sitting at 34.8 millimeters. So if I want to take this down to a piece of 32mm bar, that means I need to take off 2.8 millimeters. So the way I do that is I haven't moved the cross slide at all, so my tool is still in the same position that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my hand gauge, and I'm going to set the hand gauge to 0. Now, with that on 0, I can then move it. The set amount, I'm going to move 1mm first, and I'm going to take a 1mm depth cut. I'm going to take a measurement there. So we're now sitting there for 33.8 millimeters. So a 1mm travel on the cross slide is accurate. And I'm going to keep repeating the process until we get us down to 32. So I'm going to take another millimeter now. That'll take us down to 32.8, and then I'm going to take a smaller cut of 0.6 and then a final cut of 0.2 just to give it a nice smooth finish. So we're now sitting there, 32.3. So my final cut is going to be 0.3 on top of that. This should give us our finished size. Now the final cut that I'm taking now is a smaller step than all the others again. It should mean that we get a much smoother finish along the length of our surface. And as you can see, there's one of the hazards of obviously making big long continuous cuts, so you can get the swarf punch up like that. Now in this situation, the guard's down, the swarf can't really leave the machine, it's bouncing around inside there. So what I'm going to do, lift the guard up, and then if you remove the material, again be very careful. If it feels tight, don't put it with your fingers, only move if it feels loose. So that's quite loose, that's easy enough to remove. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you might be pulling on this or having to grab hold of it, try and avoid it in that case. Use a brush or use an appropriate tool to remove the material. You don't want to be grabbing it by hand and ragging it if it's going to be pulled tight, because it will cut your hands. Now that should be our final size there. I'll remove the cross slide, pull it away so it doesn't score apart, and then move the carriage out the way. come along and take our measurement. Sitting nice there on 32mm. Exactly. So we've now got our stock cut size, we've got the desired diameter, we've got a nice square face, so any further operations can then be carried out on this part. And that is a squared off piece of material. We're just going to come in, we're just going to brush down any of the excess swarf on the machine. And what we're going to do is we're trying to brush it down into the bottom of the machine, trying to get it down between the gaps in the bed. And then we can collect it all in the sump of the machine and then empty that out afterwards. So get all the excess swarf away. Show our tools nice and clean, there's nothing stuck in our guards. Because over time, all this material does build up. And the last thing you want is to have a really dirty lathe, because it will make it much more difficult to use. The cleaner the machine is, generally the easier it is and the more accurate it is.